What's up, guys? It's your boy Phil over at the Say What You Like Sports Podcast, and I'm kind of just enjoying me here a Victory Friday. You know, my Dallas Cowboys blow out, embarrass, put the beat down on the division rivals, the hated Washington Redskins by a score of 38-14. And I find it real funny, you know, because most of the prognosticators out there weren't picking my Cowboys. And as a matter of fact, most of them out there weren't even picking the Cowboys, or expecting the Cowboys, I should say, to put up double figures in this game. And here they go, putting up 38 points. But, in my opinion, what's most impressive is how the defense held Kirk Cousins and that Washington Redskins offense to just 14 points. You know, I'm not going to brag too much about these Dallas Cowboys, because who could blame those same prognosticators? After the last 3 games without Ezekiel Elliott, this offense looked lost. And it didn't look too much better, especially in the beginning of the game. The Cowboys had 3 straight 3-and-outs to start the game, and then they kind of started getting the running game rolling with Alfred Morris. He ended up with over 127 yards, I believe. Running game was definitely steady and effective. I like the way it looked. When this offensive line is mauling and wearing down a defense, as long as they have the lead, you know, Dak is going to play mistake-free football, and we're going to win the game like you saw on Thursday. Now the problem is, we're not facing the Washington Redskins for the next 4 games left in the season, because Washington did their best to blow this game in the first quarter. They lost this game in the first quarter with all the turnovers on special teams, the interception in the red zone by Kirk Cousins on that drive where they were just starting to dice up the Cowboys defense, and then he gives it up. And, you know, that was one's probably more on the receiver. It hit him straight in the hands and bounced into the safety's lap. But whatever the cause, Cowboys, once they put up those 17 points, now the Cowboys can do what they do, take advantage of that O-line, wear you down, let the pass rush hit you, and it just played into the Cowboys' hands. But like I said, I'm not trying to brag too much. I don't think this Dallas Cowboys team has completely turned it around. Not by a long shot, but still, it was a little nice to see the Cowboys get the beat down on the Washington Redskins. However, what I really want to focus on is the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to let the national media take care of Dak. Is he struggling? Is he the man? When is this team, you know, gonna look and resemble the team that was rolling towards the middle of the season? You know, what's going on with Zeke, all that. I want to talk about the defense, because that's probably not what you're gonna hear, at least anywhere else, at least not from the national media. I want to talk about 2 players who, I won't say they were inserted to the starting lineup, because they weren't, but they received a ton of snaps, and they made a difference on defense. Alright, so heading into the big Thursday night football matchup, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Garrett, was sitting on the hot seat. Damn near sitting on a pit of fire, if you ask me. Because Cowboys Nation and the NFL community in general was just laying the hammer down on Garrett, saying he's not making the necessary adjustments. You know, his play calling and the way he runs the offense, the defense, the practices are all way too predictable. And I don't disagree with those notions, or most of those notions, by the way. I do agree that Jason Garrett has not been able to make the adjustments quick enough, but where I do disagree and part ways with some of the rhetoric out there is that Jason Garrett doesn't need to panic and flip the script. A good captain never panics, because once they see the captain panic, the whole crew will follow quickly and the ship goes down very, very fast. So, you know, I'm with you guys on the Garrett thing, but this is the way I look at it. We have 4 more games to evaluate Jason Garrett and this coaching staff. Let the offseason be the offseason. We can evaluate and break that down in the offseason if we think he's the coach for us going into 2018. But for now, I do want to give Jason Garrett just a small bit of props for making a couple of adjustments on the defense. He started a new cornerback, and he limited the snaps of one of the starting safeties and put in another safety that was kind of just really impressing. So I want to talk about those two players. So if you did not watch the game, or you were not paying attention, two playmakers on that defense on Thursday night just caught my attention throughout the game, and that was Chidobe Awuzie at corner and Kavon Frazier at safety. Okay, so the first player that really caught my eye during the Thursday night football game on the defense for these Cowboys was the cornerback Chidobe Awuzie. Now Chido, as he's better known as in the circles around the Dallas Cowboys, he was the second round draft pick from just this year's draft, and he's had a lot of problems staying healthy. He's been dealing with a hamstring issue throughout pretty much the entire season up to this point, but they finally got Chido healthy, so Garrett made that minor adjustment, inserted Chido into the starting lineup over cornerback Anthony Brown, and Chido impressed me. And he impressed me big time, because he gave us all the things that Anthony Brown hasn't been giving us this season. Chido walked onto that field, made his first start, and he just had the confidence, man. I mean, you could just see it. You can see the swag. I even tweeted, Chido's playing with some swag tonight. He has the confidence. He had the physicality. And if you want to talk statistics, he had 3 pass deflections. Now, that was in one game. Keep in mind, the Dallas Cowboys don't make a lot of plays on the ball as far as the DBs go. Orlando Scandrick leads the team for the season with 7 pass deflections. Chido gets into this game and in one game has 3. So, when you really think about it, we haven't seen a Dallas Cowboys cornerback, no matter who they are, play with the physicality and get his hands on the ball, even if it's not for the pick, but just for the deflection, batting a ball down, it's impressive. So, I really liked what I seen with Chido. He was in position, looks like he definitely is comfortable with the defense. And you gotta think, he's had a lot of time to study his playbook because he hasn't been practicing all that much physically. He hasn't been playing these games because that hamstring injury, really slowed the dude down, throughout the whole season. I think he didn't start, but he played in the New York Giants game. I think he injured the hamstring. He was out a couple of weeks, re-injured the hamstring, tried to come back for the Green Bay game. I think in the first couple of plays, he re-injured the hamstring, so they just sat him. And hopefully, Chido can stay healthy, because if he can, and he can give us some similar performances like he did on Thursday Night Football, better watch out. That Cowboys defense might be something fierce. Just might be. Alright, so getting to that second player that really impressed me on the defense for the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night, Kavon Frazier, number 35. Look, he hasn't been much since being drafted by these Cowboys in the 6th round of last year's draft. He was actually drafted in the same round as the cornerback that got benched, Anthony Brown. Now, Anthony Brown last year, he was balling out, but he's kind of tailed off, as you probably heard this year. But Kavon, he really hasn't done very much outside of special teams. But he got some defensive snaps this week, and he looked good. Looked very, very good at safety. I want to say, I hope that this is more good Kavon Frazier than it is bad Byron Jones. Look, Byron Jones is a Cowboys first round pick, so he's pretty much guaranteed to have playing time going forward. But to me, I haven't came away with Byron Jones, I should say, I haven't came away impressed by Byron Jones outside of a very strong skill to cover the tight ends. We're talking about a player that was a combine workout warrior, straight athletic freak, and he has shut down the likes of Rob Gronkowski, and so when you can shut down Gronk, you can just just about shut out any tight end. He was covering Travis Kelce in that Kansas City game this year. I mean, he was blanketing Kelce. Kelce did not have a big game by Kelce's standards. So Jones can really shut down a tight end, but it's kind of like, he's not quick enough for the faster receivers in the NFL as far as coverage goes, and he struggled in his rookie year doing that. But he matches up well with the tight ends. But then when you put him at safety, he does well in coverage. I do like him on the back end of the defense, kind of playing that cover one, that safety on the top. He's good. But what I've noticed is when he's got to come downhill and make the tackle, he whiffs a lot. He misses. He barely gets his hands on the ball carrier. And that's a problem when you're talking about your safety. Your safety needs to be a solid tackler. And I don't see that from Byron Jones. And that's where Kavon Frazier, I mean, I saw him running downhill with some steam and just laying the wood on people out there. And we really missed that in this Dallas Cowboys defense. We need an enforcer. And Kavon Frazier showed me something that I haven't seen out of Byron Jones for the last 2 years. In my opinion, Kavon Frazier showed me, he looks more like a viable replacement for Barry Church, who, if you remember, left the Dallas Cowboys to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you know how that defense is playing this year. Lights out over there on defense, at least in Jacksonville. And I think a solid part of that is Barry Church. Barry Church was an underrated player for this Dallas Cowboys team. He wasn't great, but he was very, very good. And I think Kavon Frazier looks a lot more like Barry Church than Byron Jones. So I don't know what this means going forward. Of course, this is one game, and like I mentioned earlier, we have 4 more games to evaluate this situation, but you gotta like what you've seen out of Kavon Frazier, being able to be that downhill safety that we've been missing for quite some time in the Dallas Cowboys defensive backfield. Hopefully, they can keep it up. We'll see. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I gotta admit, I walked away very impressed with the Dallas Cowboys defense, and especially impressed with the 2 adjustments that they made on defense, inserting Chidobe Awuzie into the starting lineup and giving Kavon Frazier some more snaps, splitting those reps and snaps with Byron Jones probably this week in practice. So it looks promising, guys. It looks promising. We will see how our Cowboys do. They got Sunday off. They'll be back next Sunday against the Eli Manningless New York Giants. Peace out, everybody.